Many people say that the New York Yankees get calls their way, are able to get games their way, that the umpires are sort of on their side a little bit. They always seem to win. The same thing is said about Duke. In fact, there's been many traditional probes where the Duke Blue Devils college basketball team seems to always get the calls that they want whenever they want them. In fact, a lot of people will traditionally argue and use pretty substantial evidence to try to prove their case. Some people may be willing to say that the same thing happens on the ice with the Detroit Red Wings whenever they seem to be doing fairly well, but that's a case that's really hard to sell on and is very difficult to boast. However, in professional basketball, I gotta say this, the Boston Celtics are getting a major benefit of the doubt in their series against the Chicago Bulls. Serious benefit of the doubt, especially Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo, of course, was involved with Brad Miller both in Game 5 and Game 6 in two separate incidents. In Game 6, there was actually a skirmish between the two. Now, Dwight Howard of the Orlando Magic threw an elbow into the back of the head to a player on the opposing team and got suspended for 1 game. Rajon Rondo was the person who really initiated all of this contact both times and has not been delivered any sort of suspension whatsoever. And to be perfectly honest with you, what he did to Brad Miller is 10 times worse than what happened with Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's was 2 people playing hard, and yes, the reason why it was a flagrant foul and why it resulted in the suspension was because it happened after the play. This was extracurricular completely with Rajon Rondo. Now, one would argue, a Celtics fan may argue, well, if that's the case, then Brad Miller should also be suspended. And to be honest, I perfectly agree. But, the fact that Rajon Rondo especially is not being suspended for his actions and his activities and his particular viciousness is an absolute bastardization of the rules. And it's showing favoritism towards one team as opposed to another. Whenever Dwight Howard of the Orlando Magic, maybe a team that doesn't necessarily have the reputation and the history of the Boston Celtics, does something like this, whenever he elbows somebody in the back of the head, it's an automatic 1-game suspension. But yet Rajon Rondo on the Boston Celtics, the most winning team in NBA history, the team that has won the most championships and has one of the most storied histories in the 55 or 60-year history of the NBA, then it seems like the rules are automatically able to be changed. And personally, that is absolutely not right. Rajon Rondo, if you really want to do your team and the NBA a favor, I think you should sit out Game 7. Not simply because I think that the Bulls would have a better chance without you on the court, because personally, I think the Bulls can pull this off regardless. There are 2 key statistics that really prove my case here. If this ball game goes into overtime, the Bulls have a distinct advantage. They have won all 3 of their games in overtime games. Now, if it goes into a second overtime, the Bulls are 2-0. And if it goes into a third overtime, the Bulls are 1-0. The second statistic is this. There has always been somebody on the Celtics, one single player, that has had to have a huge day in order for the Celtics to have a chance. Whether it be Rajon Rondo in one of the earlier games, or in Game 6, it was Ray Allen who had a 51-point performance. If Boston plays a balanced game, they cannot win. If they play a game in which they're all hovering around their averages, they cannot win against the Bulls. They need to have somebody break out for them because they do not have their big man, Kevin Garnett. So right now, even though Rajon Rondo is going to get off the hook and is going to be able to play Game 7 on Sunday, which I don't think he should be allowed to do, or excuse me, on Saturday, tomorrow, I still think that the advantage goes to the Chicago Bulls on the arguments of momentum and on the arguments of what I've seen in this series so far. Yeah, Boston may have won 2 games that did not involve overtime, but look at how close those games were. Anyways, guys, I want to hear your comments on this. I want to know what you think. Whether you're a Boston fan and hate my guts, or whether you're a Chicago fan and totally agree with me. Send me messages, send me comments, make a video comment. In fact, if somebody would be willing to video comment the actual incident, that would be really awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care. This is Porcupine Theater. Later.